Hello again. So I wanted to make this video to explain a critical point because this has always been a main question, like main issue that the followers of the Dhamma tried to resolve. So the issue is okay. I understand, I perceive wrongly at one level. I see, I understand that. How do I perceive rightly? And when does it happen? So this is a question in Sutta. Mahajunda asks the Buddha. So when does the abandoning and relinquishing of these wrong views happen? And what the Buddha says is Junda, as to those various views that arise in the world associated either with the doctrines of a self or with the doctrines about the world, if the object in relation to which those views arise, which they underlie, and which they are exercised upon, is seen as it actually is with proper wisdom, thus, this is not mine. This I am not, this is not myself, then the abandoning and relinquishing of those views comes about. So what does this even mean? You can read this hundreds of times. What is he saying here? Okay, this is not mine, this is not self, this is not myself. You like try to make them on, oh, not self, not self, not self. So what is he actually saying here? So he is what he's saying here is so he's describing here how an enlightened being regards his experience. Okay. But in order to understand this point, you need to see this how how a Putujana sees his experience. So you need to start over there first. So a Putujana sees his experience as this is mine, this is I am, this is myself. And these 3 degrees of reflection is how these views proliferate. This is just an example of this proliferation, okay? And it even proliferates further, various views of self and these theologies and these theories about the cosmos, and it just proliferates infinitely, these views. But it all starts with this is mine. So this is mine is not talking about an object, okay? They insert here the object in relation. Well, it's not an object. It is whatever is present right now as a background of this object. So my body, my mind, my consciousness, my perceptions, they're all subtle phenomena that are invisible in relation to the object that you're concerned about. The object of my sensual lust. That's what I am concerned about. My whole life. What am I gonna eat? Whom am I going to marry? Just going for this pleasure, that pleasure. You're always focused on your object of sensuality. So when they're talking about an object, they're not talking about that here. Okay, the object of your self-view is this subtle phenomena or this whole experience, and that ownership is just given. with avijja, So, but how can you give that up? So that's the question. So one example of that, or the first point of development towards that position, non-ownership, is giving up sensuality. And that's going to happen. This has to start with giving up the coarse type of pleasures. Food and sexuality. These are like the two main points of, two main anchors of you, anchoring you to the world and the world of sensuality. And that's why there are a lot of, concern about that in the suttas and the Vinaya. There are a lot of limits and a lot of, layers of rules protecting you from crossing that boundaries. So you need to put that boundary so that view can somewhat relax, that grasp on that experience can let loose. So when that happens, you can go indefinitely without indulging in these lustful actions or these impulsive actions. Then when the mind let its grasp on the experience, so what happens? So one example of that. So what happens is you can then see, as the Buddha describes in the suttas about the mindfulness of the body and the mind, For example, he talks about mindfulness of the body. He explains how that one sees rightly regards the body, for example, as a dart, as a disease, and whatever. And for example, in one sutta, he gives an example of a bag of vegetables and fruits and whatever. For example, you find a bag of fruits and you open up, oh, there is an apple, there is a banana, and whatever. So it's like the one's own body. He should see it like that. So you stumble upon a bag on the road. You open it. So what you see there is organs, blood, and intestines just pouring out. So how do you feel? And how do you feel if those belong to someone you care deeply about? How would you feel then? Would you feel relaxed and happy and just full of refined pleasure in your mind? No, you would feel horrified, repulsed. You could even lose your mind at that state. First time you see the body without the lens of sensuality, it is, the most horrifying experience you could imagine. So then you can see why those monks in the suttas, went overboard, and what happened. They want to destroy it completely, to get rid of it, so you can go overboard. And the Buddha then taught different ways to, see rightly, let's say, without going overboard. But that is the natural state of things. Natural state of things is revolting. So then you understand you are seeing it rightly. After you're seeing it right, you can just pull back from that revulsion attitude and try to calm it down. But that's how you understand. Oh, okay, I see it, but correctly. So that's your first point of entry into right view. That has to be, because the further, more subtler points, they're not accessible unless you're completely withdrawn from sensuality. So this is what I wanted to say. See you later.